Jesus said, if two make peace with each other in this one house, they will say to the mountain, move away, and it will move away. And I always thought, that in the New Testament where it says, this magic stuff of Jesus saying that with the faith of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move ye into the sea, and it will be so. And I thought, oh my God, can anyone ever do that? Can someone look at a friggin' mountain and say, move ye into the sea? I always thought that was an amazing statement for him to make. And it is. And it's not magic and it's not physically ever going to happen. It was not meant as a physical thing. Although I always thought that he said it, it must be so. Well, here's what Cameron said for this saying. Let me get my glasses for this italicized stuff. Out of nothing more than a series of perceptions, we make a world and call it reality. So follow with that just a little bit. Out of nothing more than a series of perceptions, we make a world and call it reality. And you could say that's our conditioning learning experience as we come into time and space in these bodysuits. We give primacy to this world and secondary reality to the consciousness, which gives rise to the perceptions. These perceptions, out of which we make a world, are nothing other than consciousness itself. And we are nothing other than that. When this is seen, when these apparently separate aspects of reality are seen as one reality, when the two make peace with each other in this house, then the insubstantial nature of the world is also seen, and they can say to the mountain, move away, and it will move away. And so this house is not this bodysuit. This house is awareness. This house is our true nature. It's consciousness. This house is where perceptions move away, conditioned beliefs, identification with this as our identity, as the character of our identity, it moves away, and one knows the self. That's what's being offered here. And it's funny the story that I have that I wanted to share when we were filming in India last year, we filmed, I don't know, 5 or 6 swamis at several ashrams in Rishikesh and uh, Bangalore and Tiruvannamalai. And Swami Muktananda was telling us when we interviewed him, he'll be in the next. We have a film that's coming out. I thought it was going to come out on the 17th. It's coming out on the 24th. And it's called The Mind Unveiled. And it's really an amazing film that speaks to it shows some little tiny little infant 6 month or old babies that are, brand new. And then that innocence is layered on the conditioned self, the perceptions, and the mountain is sprinkled into that little body mind experience. So the mind unveiled starts there, and then we interview a dozen or so uh, cast people from around the world that will speak to the mind unveiled and how this egoic identity becomes our identity. And then we go backwards and we release ourselves from that identity, which is really saying to the mountain, move away. And when we interviewed this Swami Muktananda, he was talking about this experience of the mountain being given to him as the experience is the same thing that Jesus said here, the same thing that Cameron said here, that the mountain is built up of our concepts and perceptions. And once one is realized, once one knows their true nature as the self, one can say, move ye into the sea, and it will be so. And so that's the not the power of being powerful, but the power of understanding our true nature allows us to live in the true nature of our being to the point where when when conflicts arise, when this house, not this house, but this house that we seem to be in of consciousness that seems to be divided into duality and with the coming online of our true nature, it seems like there's two in this house. And when one is realized, the two become one, and the one that's realized says to the perceptions and the conditioned mind and the identity that it thought it was, move ye into the sea, and it will be so. So this mountain of conditioned beliefs and traumas in a lifetime of experiences of suffering can be easily set aside. And it's just what Jesus said in the New Testament, as it's like the faith of a mustard seed will say, move ye into the sea, and it will be so. So everything kind of lines up. And I really like it when, the teaching of the non-dual comes in and agrees with something that was profoundly spoken by Jesus, because we can't really tell for sure what he said. The Gospel of Thomas would give us a better sense because it was untouched for so many years. But anyway, that's my take on that. Does anyone else have a something they would like to add to that before we move to the next saying? Nothing to add. Okay. Anyway, that was so cool for me when this Swami guy, when I interviewed this Swami Muktananda, he's from Canada. He's about 7 feet tall. He was a super giant man. When I finished interviewing him at this ashram in Rishikesh, I just had to hug the guy. I said, at the end of the filming, I said, man, can I give you a hug? And my head came up to his chest. He was so big, such a big guy. He's laughing. I'm a big man. He's got this orange, soiree or robe thing on. It was pretty funny. Okay, good. Thanks for putting your hand up. Hi, Tim. Tim's iPad.
Uh,
Oh,
mm,
something's happened.
Hey,
Anyway,
yes.
are you
Okay,
there?
no, we have you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
I'm still. It's a question, really. I'm. I might have missed something with what you said there, because what are we talking about when we're talking about two? Are we talking
Oh,
about duality?
uh, yes, we're talking about, well, we're talking about there seems to be two in one house. We seem to be this character that has our identity and our name and our beliefs and our history. But then there's this other one
Okay.
that is the invisible, that's the formless. It's the true
Yeah.
nature. So
Yeah.
this
It seems that if the two would be clearer, perhaps. I don't know.
what would be clearer?
If it said the two. if the
Oh,
two make
yeah.
peace. I, I just didn't quite get that.
Well, but if you said the two, it would really need to be the seeming two, because
Yeah. Oh,
not
right.
there's really not two.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
would have to be clarified or qualified.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, iPad, is that Sylvia?
Yes, that's me.
Okay. Hi, Sylvia.
I just wanted to say thank you because I too was into the belief of like, what, move a mountain? And thanks to you, when I first read this, I actually understood it. So that I guess what I'm saying is that um, I finally do understand it, and it's mostly because of all these uh, classes I've had with you all um, uh, for more than a year now. So thank you. It makes so much sense.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Sylvia. And it's funny because until the Swami said that to me in that interview, I didn't know what that meant. You know, the faith of a mustard seed says to this mountain, move ye into the sea. I thought, oh, that's a crazy. Who does that? And how could Jesus never actually did that. But so to have the meaning of it make sense on all these different points, in my mind, it's not only helpful, but it's also kind of like revealing that, oh,
Hmm.
that makes sense, and it's a signpost that we're on the right path,
Yeah, yes,
right?
yes,
We're on the same
exactly.
path he was pointing to. Now it makes sense a
Yes,
few years later.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, Jude, would you like to read the next saying, or do you have something to say on this one?
Oh, just a quickie. Hi, Bill. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
The expression "to move the mountain" um, really reminds me of no order of difficulty or no order of magnitude of miracles. That it's from the Course in Miracles, and how it says, the most hateful, hurtful, warring place um, can become the holiest place, and that nothing can come between us because we are one. That is what a miracle is, the healing of that perception, that we suffer from a disease of perception. And that's all. But I'd be happy to read the next one too, if you like.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, you're right. And it is that is just another, it's a miracle. It's the miracles that happen in awakening, in recognizing our true nature, in realizing our true self. It looks like miracles happen, but really the things of that were spoken by so many different traditions and sages, they become understood and realized. So would you like to read 49? Where'd you go?
I think I hit my mute button.
Okay.
I'm here now. Blessed, Jesus said, "Blessed are the solitary and elect, for you will find the kingdom. For you are from it, and to it you will return." I'd like to read that again, please.
Okay.
Blessed are the solitary and elect, for you will find the kingdom. For you are from it, and to it you will return. Swimming against the tide of humanity requires clear, fearless seeing, an independence of mind, and a willingness to travel alone. That which we seek has these same qualities of fearlessness, independence, and autonomy, for it stands alone as truth. I'm going to pass for now.
Yeah. Yeah, That's a beautiful statement. Blessed are the solitary. I think of the solitary as just being single-minded or single-pointed is what I heard a lot when I was interviewing the swamis in India, just being single-pointed awareness, single-minded. And where it says elect, I think there might have been a language change from the Aramaic to the Greek to the English, because elect here sounds like what we did to the New Testament, where only, even the elect will be fooled, the special people like the Sanhedrin or Pharisees. And in this term, elect, I think it's talking about blessed are the solitary and devoted. I think that blessed are the devoted. I think your devotion brings you by desire and love of self love brings you to that devotion of beingness to realize your true nature. So yeah, I think some of these things really are helpful, especially if you had any kind of Christian or Bible background, as I did. I love hearing these things ring true. And thanks for reading that, Jude. Who would like to read 50? Jude, go ahead.
I just wanted to say about that blessed are the solitary and
Okay.
elect in reference to what he speaks of as being fearless and independent and willing to travel alone. That the line that Jesus said reminds me of something that came to me from the Course, that we were chosen. That word elect to me means chosen. That we were picked out for a specific reason to play a specific part in the plan of the atonement, and that our special hates are changed to special love, special kinds of forgivenesses, and so that idea that we came from heaven and will be returned from heaven is obvious, and it's what Jesus said, but the being human, requiring fearless seeing alone and from a nonconformity point of view, apart from conditioning or conditioned ideas of what the world has taught us to believe about who we are, and that these same qualities stand alone as truth. That that God, in expressing us, is expressed divine abstraction, things that have no form, that we're formless spirit and consciousness, and that's, there's no fear in any of that. There's nothing you can attack to attack, and there's complete independence and complete autonomy in it. So I don't know. I guess it's enough out of me. I wonder if that sparked any other thoughts from anybody else.
Well, one thing you said, I don't think the Course says that we're chosen. It says all are chosen, few choose to listen.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. So
But that's
it's not like there's a select few that are chosen, some special group or tradition. All are chosen, all of humanity, and all of consciousness, really. And few choose to listen. And I guess animals probably don't fit into that category, since they don't have a conscious thinking mind that is able to relate as humans do. I don't know about monkeys and that whole thing. But yeah, I think the fearless nature of duality and a belief that we're separate is fear-based. So once we are releasing ourselves, once we're releasing our identity with this body-mind experience, the fear dissolves into the nothingness that it rises from. And we live as fearless, um, independent but unified as the one self of our being. And so I don't think it has human qualities anymore. It's just using the apparatus to be embodied spirit. That's the whole awakeness transformation that occurs.
I thought it was interesting the way you said swimming against the tide, because we often use the expression "go with the flow," which is the more natural way of being in the
Yeah.
Tao. And but in order to return to it, the natural way that we were created to be, loving and kind and peaceful, is in opposition to the way humanity generally operates, according to the egoic thought system. So that's just the point I was trying to make, that we have to go against, be, outside, or put aside rules of conformity, just being Ottomans, a part of the machinations of society and its rules and its organizations and role playing, all that jazz.
Mm. Yeah, it's funny that swimming against the tide is really not recommended.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's what I
It's
found
it.
interesting.
I love that nursery rhyme, row, row, row your boat, right? That we all learned as little kids, because that's actually it's such a high spiritual understanding uh, that it takes, you don't get it until you get it, I guess. But swimming against the tide of humanity, if you were going to recommend that, I recommend you stop trying to do that because that's what is the cause of suffering. When you can, and this is what allows your true nature to take the place of the thing that you thought you were, is when you come to a place where you no longer swim against anything, but you allow everything, so that you become a passenger on the river flowing instead of some this contraction and object that is living a life of resistance and suffering.
In opposition. Well,
Yeah.
he says it in the last page, that we give primacy to this world and secondary reality to consciousness, which, I would say is what, being a conformist in the world, and, going about life without really being contemplative or thoughtful, or silent, and seeing the totality of reality, versus seeing, everything very judgmentally and specific and concretely. So the difference in, giving primary reality to things that are temporal and spatial, versus giving, having an understanding what true capital reality is, which is formless and changeless.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that has a lot of little threads on it. Thank you for your uh, follow up on that, Jude. Who would like to read 50, please? Gail? Hi, Gail.
Well, good day, wherever you are.
Welcome.
Um, Jesus said, if they say to you, where did you come from? Say to them, we came from the light, a place where the light came into being on its own accord and established itself and became manifest through their image. If they say to you, is it you? Say, we are its children. We are the elect of the living Father. If they ask you, what is the sign of your Father in you? Say to them, it is a movement and repose. Ah, Karen says the absolute cannot be described, only pointed towards. Jesus uses metaphors to help his disciples communicate his message to the world in words that could be understood, remembered, and passed down. His description of the sign of the Father in the disciples as being movement and repose describes the peace and inner stillness ever present in those who know their true nature, even as they live and act in the world. Amen. I always find this is really interesting. For the most part, I don't get most of this stuff. I just don't get it, but I'm okay with that because I just go like, well, keep reading it. Something will, I'll get it on the level that I'm supposed to get it. Okay, that's just the way it is. But I do love the fact and totally agree that when you know your oneness with the Creator, that um, there's something that emanates from you. There is a peace and a stillness and a knowingness that you live and breathe and act from. And uh, I think what people can sense that or energetically feel that there's something different in the way you walk in the world.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. You feel it. It doesn't matter if they follow a tradition, have no tradition. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. I felt that from my grandson who has, he's 18 years old. I felt it from my son's, my son's, my daughter's mother-in-law, who, she follows a very traditional path that is different from the one we're on, but I can feel the essence of her being in what she speaks and how she speaks. So, yeah, it's true.
And I also thought it was interesting that they used the word elect in here again. We are its children. We are the elect of the living Father. That's interesting to me because we're all children of this creation, this creator, whether we
Yeah,
know it or not.
that's right. Yeah. The
I,
the our ignorance doesn't exclude us.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, we are the elect. Everyone is elected. No one's left out. Yeah, I like that. I found it interesting in the saying itself, the coaching that Jesus was giving to his devotees. If they say to you this, here's your response. So he was helping them to say, what was happening here. He was helping them to be able to share from a place that they really didn't know yet. They were newbies. Just think of that. They were only with him for less than 3 years. And most of us that are on any kind of path, uh, it's decades before we start to get anything. Why would they be any different? I understand from other writings that I've read that Mary Magdalene she got it and that's why the disciples were a little jealous of her getting it. But maybe it's in these sayings that we're going to see more of that. But I've read where Mary Magdalene is the one. She was really she had the same understanding that Jesus had, from what I understood. So anyway, I'm happy to be 2,000 years later reading these sayings and connecting with our brother that he's the way shower for most of humanity, definitely all of humanity in the West, or most of humanity in the West, I would say. Thank you, Gail. And Angelina, your hand is up. What would you like to read the next one or share from that one?
Okay, hi. um,
Your screen is frozen.
I don't know, but it just kind of fascinated me because what it got me thinking, the movement and repose, about quantum mechanics, quantum physics, about the theory of the wave and the particle. And because like the movement is like the wave, and the repose it's like the particle. And he's saying there before, where the light came into being on its own accord and established itself and became manifest through their image. So like kind of, how do you say, like the light, the pure energy or consciousness that behind things, and then the things as they are manifested in the world. So just kind of like grabbed me how 2,000 years before, we talk about quantum physics, we have a saying that's a bit like that. So that's kind of where it kind of grabbed me.
Oh, I love that. I can always count on you. We can always count on you to bring something that's hidden between the lines. I love it. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is speaking about quantum physics right there. It's a movement and a rest or a repose. So when he says, "What is the sign of your Father in you?" So if we expand on that, what is the sign of inner peace? What is the sign of presence? What is the sign of our well-being overwhelming or overshadowing or enveloping our experience? What is the sign of your Father in you? Say to them, it is a movement and a repose. So it's almost like you could write a paragraph of what that might mean
Mm.
for someone. And for us, it's a listening and a movement that comes from a listening. It's a movement that comes from a stillness. And that would be reversing it's a resting in stillness, which is developing our listening, and then a movement that's coming from the Father or from presence.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's rich.
You want me to read the next one too?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. His disciples said to him, "When will the repose of the dead come about? And when will the new world come?" He said to them, "What you look forward to has already come, but you do not recognize it. whatever begins also ends. If the peace which we seek is truly eternal, then it must always have been present. It's been right here all the time, since the beginning of time. Time itself exists only within this greater reality. Jesus tells his disciples, you do not need to wait for anything. Rather, you need to see what is already the reality of your existence. Well, I kind of agree on this one interpretation. Well, it's not very not very complicated in a way, it's kind of straightforward, I guess. So I guess when the repose of the dead come about, like when people ask him that, they think, I know the Jewish tradition there. I don't know if it's the Jewish, now I'm confused if it's about the Jewish or the Christian, that the dead the dead will come alive again. That would be
Oh yeah,
the
the dead in Christ will rise in the last days. The what do they call that? The rapture.
yeah. Actually, I know how they say it in Hebrew. um so and he of course doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean some kind of dead people rising from the grave. That would be kind of spooky. I mean, I think to Jesus, that's like that we are already eternal, that everything is eternal, the spirit consciousness is eternal, and then the dead would come about when we realize our eternal nature, when we realize like who we are is the spirit. So yeah, so it has already come. It's already here, but we just don't see it when we're convinced we're just this flesh and this kind of temporary flesh and not the eternal spirit.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for pushing back is welcome here. And I agree that there's more in the language than what his commentary offers, and it is in line with the question: when will the repose of the dead come about? So when will awakening occur? Is really what they're asking. When will we? Or they're asking that, but they're expecting it to be. He's gonna like he's going to somehow remove the Roman influence and and ugliness of that experience. They're looking for that to happen, and his his pointing was always an inside job. It was never going to be the physical change that they were looking for.
Yeah, and I think also like there's the story of Lazarus that he brought to life after 3 days.
Hmm.
And I think people see that as like, or when Jesus came to life, like this is the big miracle. And I think like what Jesus always tried to tell them, no, like the real meaning of eternal life is not to bring the physical dead back to life, but it's to I give you eternal life, like to that you while you're here, you live as if you're eternal.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it's not about that you're not gonna physically die, I think, although some people want that, but that you live every day as if there is no time, as if, there is only eternity, I think.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You live in awakening. You live in the understanding of the self. You're no longer identified as this, although this is still in play. you recognize that it's a temporary play, and you live with that understanding, and then knowing, perception moves to a direct experience of knowing your true nature. You are the light of the world, he said. Now walk in it, and it's not so easy because we're attached to these bodysuits and the belief systems and our character. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Angelina. Hi, Jan. Welcome.
Good morning. It's nice to be back with you. I kind of missed you last week.
Oh, thank you.
So it's really funny, when you get into doing a book study like this and you learn all the different people's faces and their names, and it's like you've missed seeing your family for a week when you're not able to do it. So
Yeah,
it's nice to have the replays. Yeah.
it is. Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
so we're ready for 52, right?
Yep, yep.
Okay. His disciples said to him, 24 prophets spoke in Israel, and all of them spoke in you. He said to them, you've omitted the one living in your presence and have spoken only of the dead. And Cameron says, a prophet speaks of the future. A true prophet recognizes that the future has no independent reality and exists only within consciousness or God. The truth is alive in this moment. We may inherit valuable teachings from those who have died, but for those who seek to know the truth, there is no substitute for the presence of a loving teacher. um, I I really agree with what you and Angelina were talking about on the last one, and if we just carry that on a little bit, there are new discoveries being made every day in the scientific world that just really adds to the truth that we're encountering in this awakening process. It's just another pillar to build on. And yet that's not going to be static either. This is a forever walk that we're upon. This is not something that we're going to get the end of. So there's always going to be new knowledge, new truth spoken by other people. When I was introduced to Rupert Spira, I think he helped me understand a lot of what you had been saying in your talks, but it was just so far over my head. I thought, I just do not understand this. And I think every time you start to increase your knowledge, there's that point of just utter confusion. So there are going to be teachers along the way that are going to help you so that you won't be so confused, and then you can go on to the next step. And I think it's great to be tied in with historical people that are mentioned sometimes. But we want to just remember that this is an ongoing process. That's all. And to not get stuck with one teacher, but just keep learning from everybody around you.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I love the parts of history. I especially love it when history agrees with the present teaching. And it was I just wasn't ready to understand it then. But now, and sometimes you have to hear something two or three different times or different ways before it can come in. And then you go back and you read it and you go, oh, that's what that meant. Damn, how did I miss it? It's right. It was right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all learn at our own pace, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we do. There's one point that he made here that I both agree and I don't know if I want to use the word disagree with, but having a the being in the presence of a living teacher is a great, it's an awesome thing. It's something that, when someone is passed and you pick up one of their book and you go, oh my God, I wish I could have sat in a meeting with this person. So that in that way, so that you could, have that real intimate, direct communication. I have found that a lot of the teaching is still a direct communication with someone that's passed, and we're just using their words. I don't think a live uh, body teacher is always necessary. It may be helpful. I mean, I went and followed Ken Wapnick down in Temecula for A Course in Miracles when I found out he was like the guy. I went to Portugal and I lived with Muji when I thought he was the guy. When I met Rupert, I got on a plane. I went to San Francisco. I met Rupert when I thought he was the guy, and they're all the guys and gals. I met Ganga Ji in person. And all of these people. So it is cool to connect with a living teacher, and it's even more cool when you can recognize that that teacher is no different than you, the same. And
We're all
most of the
just
ones that I'm speaking of will they'll communicate from an equal level.
we're all just threads in that big tapestry. And some of the threads may be a little thicker than the others, but we're all important and we can learn from each other. I've
Yeah.
learned so much just from the other people in this book study talking
Mhm.
about their opinions of what things mean. And yeah,
Yeah.
it just adds another little layer onto what your knowledge is.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Thank you, Jan. Appreciate your input and uh, for reading that. And Sandra, you have your hand up. Is a comment, or will you read the next one, or both?
Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Um, I was going to make a comment, but I think you just said it. So my comment was going to be, as I was sitting here thinking of the teachers, I love this line, the truth is alive in this moment. And what that said to me is that the truth is alive in me. And I think my best teacher has been the moments of pure awareness within me. That's my teacher. Not the character Sandy, I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I
So
do. I
my,
loved hearing it.
my teacher are those quiet, the teacher, not my teacher. The teacher is just pure consciousness and being open and aware and abiding and living it. Just that's what informs everything.
Yeah.
Even though I love listening to all the teachers, they just kind of confirm what there is already known more than teaching. They're confirming what is known very viscerally, very deeply in my bones, kind of.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I totally. I love, just as Jan just said. I love hearing that coming out of you, out of because it's a resonant agreement that, oh yeah, the a living teacher is awesome, but the teacher that really has carried or opened or revealed itself is the a teacher, the same teacher for everyone. It's awareness, it's presence,
Yes.
revealed itself and continues to reveal itself. And when Jesus spoke words like, I am one with the Father and you are one with me, or that, even that male name that I used to have problems with, I can rest in the Father, recognizing its presence.
It's
I
like
can rest in the
it's like
Mother.
yeah, it's like we
It doesn't
already
have to.
know. We already know. It's just it has to be recognized, realized, all those words.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And saturated. We're sort of
Yes, saturated.
marinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just swim around in it and
Hey, let's go for a swim and start a book study, The Gospel According to Thomas, or one of the other book studies. They're all there to play and to resonate and to abide in the content. And it brings our own, as you say, it brings our own remembering forth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Jude, have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Bill. Just, it's, for me, the last lessons, lead right into this one. What you look forward to, it's already come, but you don't recognize it. And that we are the dreamer and the dream, that itself wakes up to itself. We think we're the one doing it. And you have omitted the one living thing in your presence that is my presence. I'm denying my own presence. It's like that's, when we forgot to laugh and have spoken only of the dead, which so many of the people that I've read in studies have called that secondhand knowledge, that I can't get it from anybody else except myself. Like you said before earlier, that it's an inside job. Nobody can wake me up. No book can wake me up. No experience can wake me up. That there is only the present experience and being present in it. That there is only life here in this moment, or God is alive in this moment, or love is alive in this moment. Am I aware of it? I mean, it is about the being aware that we overlook. That's the most obvious thing. And it's having that innocence of a child that seems to get veiled, clouded, imposed upon by other kinds of thinking processes that veil it. So I'm glad I got the veil off my, or the bushel off my light.
Yeah, everything changes.
It does.
You see the world anew.
Definitely.
And your experience, your circumstances, they change.
Well, they're always changing, and I think we recognize that, how everything's new and fresh and different every day, even though we may be going around and around and around in the same concentric circles in our neighborhood or at work or within our house. It's like, but everything is always brand new. It's a new day. We've never been in this present moment before, and never ever experienced this before. It's like rereading the same prayers and going through the motions and the machinations of where they say the only difference between a rut and the grave are the dimensions. It's like you realize you're in the.
And yet we live in the changeless. We live in the thing that never changes as presence. We live in the reliable eternity.
The awareness that is still in repose, that notices everything that changes. How could we know what changes unless there was changelessness within us?
So all of these things, all of these physical characters, they come and they go. But this, not this, but this, it always is, and it's never not. And it's this beautiful thing that we can call God, God's infinite being, pure presence, love, peace, the well-being and gentleness, the thing that brings happiness to everyone and everything, and happiness in all its myriad of different forms is the same happiness. The root of happiness is to be in the self, is to know the self. It's awesome.
It was beautiful. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. Well, we're on 53, and it's why don't we just come back to this one next week, and we'll start here on 53 next week because we only have a minute or two left. And thank you all for coming today and bringing yourself and being involved. And I'll see you next week or at the 3 o'clock practicing present.